It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning and welcome to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me as we do another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here. And we've been doing this for 5 years. Always happy to be on this program talking about residential real estate, the housing market in general, and what you need to know to become an informed consumer so that when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you know the right questions to ask. You know what's going on in this market, and you've been given enough of an education on the behind-the-scenes look at what real estate agents actually do or don't do to make sure that you've got the best possible agent and information to help you win in your transaction. Buy the home for the least amount of money possible. Sell the home for the most amount of money possible. Get a great investment. All of that good stuff. That's what this show is all about, is arming you with the right information. So if you'd like to reach out to me, of course, we do sell real estate during the week, and we'd love to earn your business. We sell anywhere between 150, 200 homes a year. We've been in the top 1% of agents in Charleston for a decade. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or you can visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Learn more about myself and my team, who we are, what we do, what we sell, how we sell it. Read our blog, a lot of great information there. Listen to radio shows from weeks and months and years past. Search the MLS, find out how much your home is worth. All that good stuff and more, listingsincharleston.com. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I'm really anxious to tell you this story because I was unknowingly, I was a participant in a social experiment a little while ago, and it was put on by a seller that was interviewing to sell his house. And so I want to tell you that story first. A little later on in the program, though, we're going to talk about the shifting market, or the shifted, past tense, market in several areas of Charleston, what that means for you, and what's kind of the chain of events that happens after that information becomes public and people wrap their head around it. First, it impacts buyers, then the agents, and then the sellers. And so what are we going to see over the next few months or year, and how is that going to impact the process of buying or selling real estate? I'm going to let you know that. And I'm also going to address the popular, I guess, category of timing the market. Do you sell now? Do you wait until the spring? Why should you sell now versus wait? Why should you buy now versus wait? Should you invest right now? Are there any good deals out there? We're going to cover all that and more as the show continues right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. And again, if you want to reach out to me and talk about real estate privately, my cell phone number, which you can call or text, is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. So here's the story that I wanted to tell, and I'm going to fluff things a little bit just so it's not quite so real as what happened, just because I don't like talking about my clients on air. But I do like sharing stories and experiences and attaching lessons to it, which I think this one is a really good one, quite frankly, if I'm being biased, which I am, because it's my show. But here's what happened. I got a call from a seller, and he said, Brian, I've listened to your show. I am interviewing agents to sell my house, and I'd like to have you come by, Saturday at 1 o'clock or whatever the time day was, and we can talk about what you do differently and what you think you can sell my home for, and what the process of working with you and your team looks like. And so we said, great. We set a time and date. And I met him at the property, and we're walking through the property, and we haven't even gotten to the point where we're sitting down yet to go through what I do, what he wants out of the process, the market, the pricing, everything that you need to talk about in order for the seller to walk away from that meeting and say, okay, I know exactly what's going on in the market. I know exactly how my agent is going to market my property. I know exactly what it means to work with this team and what I can expect, and I feel comfortable. And I have a realistic expectation about this process. That's the goal when you meet with a seller. And of course, that's overlaid by my agent understands my goals. He understands that this is what could happen if I don't achieve my goals. This is what's driving me to do this. And he's as bought into this process as I am. So anyways, we're walking through the property. We haven't even gotten to the kitchen table to sit down and talk about all the finer points. And he says, Brian, you think I can get $550 for my home? And I said, well, we're going to talk about that. Let's keep looking at the house, but I'm going to write that number down and let's revisit that because I'm going to show you these comps. And you tell me whether you think 550 is realistic after we go through all of that information. And he said, okay, fair enough. And so we get down to the kitchen table. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about the process. We're talking about his goals and what he wants to accomplish. All that stuff. And then finally we get to the market. We talk about the market and then we talk about pricing. And I'm sitting there and I'm going through these comps with him and I'm showing you, okay, so this house down the street from you, let's look at this. It's got 200 square feet more. It's got a 1/10 of an acre more. It has a fence. You don't. It has a screened porch. You don't. Here are the interior finishes. Let's look at the pictures together. And they're priced at $509. You asked me earlier if you thought we could get $550. So I just want you to think about that. Now let's look at this next property. This one sold 2 months ago, and it was 100 square feet smaller. It had very similar upgrades to yours, but your kitchen is nicer because you have granite and stainless steel, a nice tile backsplash. They had Formica, blah, blah, blah. And they sold for $485. And so we get to the point where I say, look, I think your house is worth probably $500,000. I think that's the accurate number for your house. Now, you can list a little bit above that if you'd like, but you've also told me that you want to sell in the next 30 days. So I think you should price it at what it's worth and expect that you're going to get an offer at maybe slightly above what you're worth. And so this is when I am told that I am now a participant in a social experiment. So here's what happened to the seller. He had one agent come through his property, his first agent that he knew personally, I think from church or something like that. And the agent walks through and the agent says, I think we could probably get somewhere around $550 for it. And he says, that's interesting. But no comps were shown. The information was not shared in the way that I shared it with him. And he said, well, I appreciate that, but I'm going to do my due diligence and I'm going to interview another agent or two. Well, the next agent comes through and he says, I think $479 is your number. He says, really? He didn't share that he had the other agent tell him $550. So he says, well, what in the world is going on here? How is it possible that there is a 15% swing in pricing? I mean, these agents are supposed to be good at this stuff, right? It's their job. And so he said, all right, so I'm going to have a third agent come through. And I'm going to see what happens here. So the third agent walks through, and as they're walking through, before they've gotten to the kitchen table, the seller says, hey, do you think I can get I need to sell this house for about $450. You think I can get $450 for it? And the agent, without batting an eye, says, yeah, I think $450 is your number. In fact, that was the number I was going to suggest to you. And he says, interesting. Okay, great. So then I was the fourth agent to come through. And he pulled that trick on me and says, hey, you think I can get $550 for it? And I basically was like, no, you can't. It's worth $500. And here's why. And I explained it to him. And then he said, you are the first agent out of now 4, you included, that I've interviewed that has actually shown me what my house is worth and helped me understand why they believe the home is worth that amount. And so there's a lesson in all of this and a reason for me telling you this story. And that is that as this market continues to shift, it already has in some areas, agents are going to continue to say what they need to say in order to get your listing. And I could say it a lot more PC than that, but that is just the truth. They are going to say what they need to say to get your listing. Because even if that listing doesn't sell, it's an opportunity for them to generate more business. even if it doesn't generate more business directly by having buyers call them or doing open houses or receiving online leads or whatever, then it at least is a brand awareness component of their marketing plan. The more signs I have in the yard, the more people think I'm legit, the more people must say, oh, well, he's the guy for that area. I'm going to give him a call. And so you as a seller, first and foremost, need to be asking yourself the question of, okay, so you think I can sell my house for this price? Prove it. Make sure they're reviewing their analysis with you. You know, my math teachers always used to get mad at me because I kind of found it pointless as a kid to show my work because I was really good and still am at mental math. I just write down the answer. Well, when you're selling a property, there's this little thing called trust. And trust is earned, in my opinion, by being a professional, doing what you say you're going to do, you're delivering results, protecting your client's best interests, and communicating throughout the entire process. So when somebody shoots from the hip and tells you a price, first of all, I can tell you that agents almost always regret doing that because they're like, dang it, I told this guy $525, it's really worth $485 or whatever the number is. And then they're just sitting on an overpriced listing. And then they're afraid to have the conversation with the seller because they're going to have to admit that they were wrong as a result of being unprepared. Or they're scared that the seller's going to say, wait a minute, I can't sell my house for that. And they're going to pull the listing from the agent. And so the agent's saying, well, shoot, rather than lose this opportunity, I might as well just see if I can get any nibbles on it before the contract runs out in the next 6 months. I'm telling you, it's a problem. You can solve one of those problems by just interviewing them. You know, don't just go through the process of selling the house and, you know, asking them what they do from a marketing perspective. Interview them. You're about to pay this person a good amount of money to handle this process for you and protect your investment. Ask them some tough questions. I have a list of questions that you can ask. I've said this on my show for the past 5 years. I've been doing this. If you want these questions, send me an email, text me, go to my website. Let me give you some contact info. My cell phone number, which you can call or text, is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. My website is listingsincharleston.com. And my email address is brianbeattyteam@gmail.com. And, you know, while you're interviewing, you need to be asking them things like, you know, what are your past results? What's your days on market? How long is it taking you to sell property? How does that compare to what's the average in my area? What's your list price to sales price ratio? How effective are you at actually pricing properties to sell? And I can guarantee you that the larger the difference between the list price and the sales price, the higher that agent's days on market is going to be. Because it takes time to get the property priced correctly in order for it to sell, because sellers hate going to a seller and saying, hey, I know we priced at $525, but you need to be at $475. Sellers are like, what? How are we that far off? Why don't we do $509? Let's see if that works. Doesn't work. Let's do $500. Let's see if that works. Doesn't work. Let's try $49. Doesn't work. Let's try $45. Finally, it works. And you've wasted 5 months. And there's all different kinds of scenarios that I can play out there. But the point is, how effective are they at their job? How many of their listings actually sell is a great question to ask. And then, on top of that, testimonials are great, but I'm telling you right now, there are plenty of websites out there that have fake testimonials. I know this because you can subscribe to all these different lead generation-based website platforms for real estate agents, and they come preloaded with testimonials when you set up your website. I mean, if an agent's never had a client, where is he getting the testimonials from? So the better thing to ask for are references. Let me talk to your past 3 clients. You know, I trust everything you're saying, but I'm going to verify everything you're saying. Let me talk to some of your references. Are you willing to share those with me? If the agent's not willing to share references, hello, red flag, move on. But just go with your gut as well. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, so long as you have crossed your T's and dotted your I's. If you don't get that feeling from that agent, then, you know, you're probably not going to be happy throughout this process. I would continue to look. There are plenty of good agents out there. I'm not the only one. Just kidding. But just make sure that the agent that you're working with understands your goals, can deliver results, and is going to communicate with you and take care of you throughout that process. Because ultimately, it's all about the experience. And that is the big thing that agents are working on right now, is the experience. It's as the market continues to shift, agents are going to cut back on their expenses, which means they're going to cut back on their marketing, which means that you, the seller, are going to receive less exposure for your house because it's costing the agent too much money. They're not going to be willing to spend it, and you're going to suffer as a result. And we're going to talk about that next as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And again, if you want to reach out to me, talk about the process of selling your home, buying or investing, my number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or send me an email, brianbeattyteam@gmail.com. That's BrianBeatty team@gmail.com. Stick around, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, and we will be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA.